This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Well, what Edwin Starr forgot there was war is very good for something. It's called population control. And according to the United Nations, that we need to lose 80% of all the people on this planet. Andre, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. When we were doing the documentary and we were asking various people different topics, one of the topics that really started to come out extremely strongly was crisis management. And this was basically saying that if you have a crisis, it's the best time to implement new laws and regulations. One of the people under Obama's current administration recently said, you never want to let a good crisis go to waste. Well, one of the big crises over the last decade, so-called crisis, has been the environmental crisis, global warming, and Al Gore and his inconvenient truth and all the rest of it. Well, unfortunately for Mr. Gore, the inconvenient truth is that his numbers were all cooked. Or most of them were, and that the whole global warming thing was based on, here, you don't need a big science degree for this, the sun. The Earth gets warm because of the sun. And we follow the cycle of the sun, and you look back at the medieval time period, it got really warm in the medieval time period, and there was no garbage or pollution around at that time. So we're talking to this guy named Michael Shaw, and we're saying, wow, here's this global crisis that's being manufactured to create money for all these corporations, to create control of all these national countries. How bad is this? And he says, well, if you look at Agenda 21, the United Nations, you've heard of them. Agenda 21 says they want the reduction of the human population by 80%. Let me repeat that. They're proposing the reduction of the human population by 80%. There's nearly 7 billion people on this planet right now. That's basically about 6 billion people they want to get rid of. These are the people who want to run a world government. Certainly not the people I want running me. I don't want to be the person who has to go, by the way, you have to lead for the good of the world.
This sounds very familiar to me. Well, wait a minute. Wasn't it during World War II when we had a guy called Hitler who was into genocide and the oh, wait a sec. We're talking about the same thing here.
We are indeed. And when you look back at history, and I think people really need to listen to this, when you look back at history, there are so many historical examples, and history has a way of repeating itself. Mm-hmm. When you are monitored, when you're tracked, when the government says, don't worry, you need to worry. Look at Stalin's government, where 60 million people of his own people were killed by his very own government trying to control them. When you look at Hitler's Germany, those people didn't see Hitler coming. It's not like they welcomed him in. They were railroaded. They were convinced that this was the best way for them to survive, and unfortunately, they were very mistaken. And then you look at Ceausescu and Romania. Can it happen here? Absolutely, especially if we're willingly just handing over our rights and freedoms.
Where does the Antichrist come into the picture?
Well, you look at this and you say, okay, so are we saying Obama is the Antichrist? No, we're not. What we're saying, though, is that if you put all the pieces in place for a global government, when that global government comes, they're going to say, thank you very, very much. Can you imagine if Hitler stepped up and he had the abilities that we have today to monitor, to track? And, instead of putting the Jews in a concentration camp, he could have gone on to his little computer and said, oh, look, all these people with these Jewish names, delete, 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 delete. They can't buy, they can't spell, they can't do anything. And all their homes that they're in, delete, delete, delete. They now no longer own them. We can kick them all out. And all these places, these stores that they run, delete, 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 delete. Literally that easy. So if you put all these controls and abilities in someone else's hands, someone is going to abuse them.
Go to www.cloud10pictures.com. Get your own copy of Shadow Government, How the Global Elite Plan to Destroy Democracy and Your Freedom. Andre, great talking to you. I look forward to having you back on the show with a number of the people from Shadow Government as we try and educate the people around the world on the shadow government. Take care, my good friend.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at www.drgibbswilliams.com.
Shamanism is recognized as a method to access the quantum level. Mastery of shamanic skills puts spiritual information and healing power into your hands. Path Home Shamanic Art School, a bonded Colorado certified occupational school, has met rigorous state standards, ensuring its director and instructors have the qualifications to teach the shamanic arts. Path Home offers its certification program in blocks of study. Block 1, a 5-day intensive, will be held in the beautiful mountain town of Coaldale, Colorado, October 13th through 18th. Registration deadline is September 12th. Experience journey trance, power animals, helping spirits, sacred space, and life purpose. Come discover your power. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, in the magical world of shamanism. Call 303-775-3431 or visit findyourpathhome.com.
With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com.
Welcome back, X Zone Nation. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone on the X Zone Broadcast Network and the Talkstar Radio Network. My guest this hour is Andre Van Heerden. He is the he's the CEO, writer, director, producer of Cloud 10 Pictures. Their website is www.cloud10pictures.com, CLOUDTENPICTURES. .com, and that is the website you go to get your very own copy of Shadow Government, How the Global Elite Plan to Destroy Democracy and Your Freedom. Andre, thank you very much for joining us this morning here on the X Zone, and to give this a very important message to the listeners of the X Zone Nation. Now, this is not something that is just happening in the United States. This is not something that is just happening in Canada. This is something that is happening on a global basis. We are being watched, we are being tracked, we are being numbered, and we are being dissected when it comes to the type of information that we're curious in.
We are indeed, and I think one of the key parts that people should know about the actual documentary is that it really moves very logically from one topic to the next. It looks at surveillance technology. What are we facing today? How are we being watched? How are we being monitored? And it goes through and shows you exactly how that's happening. And it's, irrefutable evidence. If you have a credit card, if you have a license, if you have insurance, if you own a home, if you buy groceries, if you rent a video, if you have a phone, if a cell phone, a GPS system, any of these things, you're being monitored, tracked, there's the data shot, no doubt. The question we asked our experts was, if you wanted to live off the grid, what would you have to do? Their answer was, live naked in the forest. It's literally that pervasive. So we then move from, okay, if this is all true, since it's all true, how does that affect our rights and freedoms? Well, your right to privacy is gone. Your freedom of expression is being encroached upon increasingly, especially if you happen to have Judeo-Christian values. It's open season on, because of political correctness and what you're allowed to say and not allowed to say. So it really looks at your rights and freedoms, both in terms of, what you can say, but also in what you can own, like property. Your right to own property is being encroached upon in the name of the betterment of the global world. It then looks at, okay, since there's all this technology, and since your rights and freedoms are no longer protected as you thought they were, that the Constitution is now being changed in subtle ways that many people don't realize, it then looks at, okay, global governments. Who's in charge of all this? Is it the people that we've elected, or is it a shadow government? Is someone behind the scenes pulling the strings? And it looks at groups like the Bilderberg Group, the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, and people immediately go, okay, now you've gone off the deep end. It's conspiracy theory time. It's wear tinfoil on your head time. No, you can find all the information about these groups readily, easily, in very respected journals. The people that we were interviewing are the former dean of Harvard, MIT professors, people on the cutting edge who've sat in on these meetings. They know what these groups are attempting to do for so-called good reasons, but the underside is very dark and very sinister. And then it looks at, okay, you have the technology, you have your rights and freedoms being eroded, you have the people who are controlling it, and people with money and with power and all the connections to do that very thing. How does this all fit into the future? How does it all fit into what's coming next? And are there any prophecies that cover that? You look at the Bible and you look at its prophecies, especially the Mark of the Beast prophecy in Revelation 13:13, and it couldn't line up more. Revelation 13:13 says that there will come a time when no one will be able to buy or sell without a mark in the right hand or the forehead. And you think about this now, and you think, okay, yeah, with the chips and all your credit cards and stuff have these RFID chips and stuff with them. That makes perfect sense. If I wanted to stop Rob McConnell from buying something and I had control of his information, I just hit delete. He has no money. He's not even a person anymore, and he can't do a single thing. I can take his home, I can take his bank account, I can take his car, everything. And that's just with a push of a button. You think back 2,000 years ago when they were trading, a goat for some food. Impossible. You never do that. Across the entire world, impossible. But now there's global systems. You can actually do that very thing. So it really does look at a global picture and how it's not just, a regional thing. It is a global thing, and it affects every person on this planet.
Big Brother has way too much power, and yet, Andre, no one is challenging them. No one is saying, hey, look, this is the truth behind the story. Does this have anything to do with technology being so reasonably priced that everyone and his brother now has a cell phone, a text machine, a laptop computer, a desktop computer? Is this the government's way of actually getting into our homes and monitoring us on a scale that has never been seen before?
that is one of the key aspects of this. If there was a totalitarian regime that came in and said, we're going to take these rights and freedoms away, you're no longer allowed to do this, we're allowed to come into your bedroom, your bathroom, we're allowed to watch and monitor every single step of the way, everyone's going to freak out and say no, and there's going to be civil wars. But the thing is, it's in the name of security. This is good. We know what's best for you is what's being told. We know what's best for you. We're going to look after you. You just have to follow along with what we say, and everything will be fine. Plus, too, at the same time, when you go along with this, we're going to give you exactly what you want because we know what you're interested in, what foods you like to eat, what you like to read, what you like to watch. Because, hey, we know all the information about you. In fact, we know more about you than your spouse, your parents, anyone. There's a great saying that if you want to know everything about a person, find out where they spend their time, where they spend their money. Those two things, where you spend your time and where you spend your money, are infinitely available through these tracking technologies. So they do know everything about you. So there is no guns, there's no war, there's no threats. Everyone willingly says, yes, you know what, if I can have this cell phone that can do all this sort of great stuff and take these pictures and do all these things, then of course I want it. But here's a quick little example. We were talking to someone, and or one of our interviewers was saying that, this girl had lost her cell phone, and the professor said, did you get your cell phone back? And she said, I have to get a new one. And he said, did you get the pictures back that were on there? And she goes, yeah, it's great. All my pictures came back that, me and my friends being, silly and all the rest of it were right there. Isn't that amazing? And then he asked the question, where did those pictures come back from? You think you're taking these pictures and they're only for you. She hadn't uploaded them anywhere. She hadn't stored them anywhere. And yet somehow on her next phone, those pictures were there again. How? Your privacy, your ability to keep things private is gone. And everyone, the next question he asked was, how many people read the disclaimers of, what you have to I accept, on your Facebook account, your MySpace account? He asked a Harvard graduate class, how many people read that? This is Harvard law. Not a single person out of the 300-room class said they had read it. Harvard law student, not a single person had read it. What are you agreeing to? No one reads it because it's 16 pages of legal stuff. You have no idea what it says. So we're willingly giving away our rights and freedoms, and we're willingly being spoon-fed, what the media is telling us as the truth, without looking behind the scenes. And thankfully, the one good thing about the internet is that it does have other ways of finding out what the truth is. Follow the money. See who's going to benefit from these things.
Yes, but having said that, and understanding how the internet is actually being used as a means of propaganda by those in power and behind those in power, isn't it possible that the information that we're allowed to be to access on the internet is actually feeding us what they want us to know and not the truth?
I think it's one. I remember Francis Bacon, a famous quote from him, said, people prefer to believe what they prefer to be true. If you prefer, the security and the comfort of, a cell phone that does all these sorts of things, and you can ignore the possible downsides of being monitored and tracked and all that sort of stuff, then, that's what you prefer. It's the same thing with the internet. There is, way too much information that's on there. A lot of it not good. You have the main media systems, which all kind of tell the same sort of story. Here's a perfect example. You look at the swine flu, and that was one of the biggest stories, probably the biggest story of 2009, and all the predictions that it was going to wipe out, so many millions and millions of people. When it hit the Australian area, they predicted that 18,000 people were going to die. 18,000 people from the swine flu. The flu came and went after it was all said and done. They looked at how many people died from the swine flu. 17. Not 17,000, 17. They predicted 18,000. Their media, their government all said 18,000 people are going to die. You have to get this flu shot. The same thing happened in North America. People were lined up, were panicking. I have to get the flu shot. I have to get the flu shot. Without asking the question, number one, okay, how many people have actually died from this in other areas? Number two, okay, where has this shot been tested? Okay, on 200 people in Belgium. That was it when people were lining up to get this flu shot. 200 people in Belgium. Any long-term effects? Well, we don't know because it hasn't been around that long. People aren't asking the questions. Then they're not asking the question of who's going to make all the money on this. You have the government running government ads saying you have to get this flu shot. Well, who's making this flu shot? This big pharmaceutical company. Do you think they like this setup? Absolutely. Do you think they were enjoying all the media coverage of if you don't get this, you're going to die? What a great way to sell the product. And then, right now what's happening with the swine flu? Well, it's quietly disappeared. What happened to all the doom and gloom predictions? Quietly gone. And I understand that it is the swine flu is a dangerous flu, but statistically no more dangerous than the flus that come around every other year. So I'm not saying to be foolish and ignore washing your hands or things like that. I'm just saying people need to use common sense and look for who is controlling that media, who stands to gain from that story or from that crisis.
Another part that was brought up in Shadow Government, how the global elite plan to destroy democracy and your freedom, was the biblical connection, and how you cannot teach the Bible in school, yet you can the Quran. And I found that a danger sign. I saw that as a red flag of unproportional size, that rights and freedoms are being taken away and granted to others who have already shown beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is a definite threat to national security. There
definitely is. One of the biggest ironies that really struck me in looking at all this was that you have, through the political correctness movement, where you're not allowed to say anything is wrong, and you're not allowed to say anything is a sin, and you're not allowed to have an opinion about a whole host of topics, most of significantly homosexuality, abortion, things like that, is that the people on the left are all saying, yes, we all want this, everyone has a right to speak, everyone has a right to say what they believe and all the rest, except for the usually the Christians or the people with Judeo-Christian values who are saying, this, we believe this, we believe that. I say, no, you can't say that. So everyone else can say anything they want, but you can't say that. And these very same people are fighting for the right for people who believe in Islam to share all their views and stuff, without realizing that if you went to any Muslim country in the world, and you were openly homosexual, you are going to be killed. You are going to be hung. There's hundreds of examples of this. And it's part of their law. And so the very thing that they're fighting for, like, yes, the Palestinians need more rights and all the rest of it. Okay, you're so big on your rights as a homosexual, all the rest of it, and you're fighting for the Palestinians' rights. Why don't you find out what the Palestinians think of your beliefs? And if you look at Sharia law, and unfortunately Sharia law is now a reality in many developed countries now,
including Great Britain.
Yeah, in Canada. I have a police friend in Toronto, and he said the number of times he gets called out to domestic situations, and it's all to do with Sharia law. It's an honor killing. It's an honor beating. A wife or a daughter has dated someone who's not a Muslim, and they either beat her or kill her and say that that's what Islam calls for. And this is in North America.
Well, you see, my view on that, Andre, and we have to take a commercial break here. My view on that is if you're in Canada, you go by Canadian law. If you don't want to go by Canadian law, you get on the next plane and go back to wherever it is you came from. It's that plain. It's that simple.
Well, that doesn't sound very politically correct.
I'm not being politically correct. I'm being a Canadian, and I'm sure that our American listeners agree the same thing, that if you go to the United States of America, and if you don't want to abide by the laws of the USA, you don't bring your own laws and implement them. You get back on a damn plane, go to wherever it was you came from, and stay there. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. I'll be back on the other side as we wrap up this edition, or this segment of the X-Zone, with our very special guest, Andre Van Heerden. www.cloud10pictures.com is the website where you can go to and get your very own copy of Shadow Government, How the Global Elite Plan to Destroy Democracy and Your Freedom. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
It was a terrifying experience.
I thought we was going to go to jail for murder.
That day, we were a little behind, so we worked until it was starting to get dark.
We loaded up the equipment and hadn't driven very far when we caught glimmers of this glow coming through the trees. I urged Mike to hurry up and get up there.
Travis had the door open before we even stopped. As he got closer, I heard the sound.
One of the guys said, "You feel that?"
I really panicked then.
And I told him, "Get the hell out of here."
It didn't come directly to me, it came to a deputy sheriff.
Three of us volunteered right away to tell him what had happened.
Sheriff Gillespie definitely didn't believe it.
He says that we better be certain because we can get in a lot of trouble.
When we went to search the next day, they split us up, and the whole time the deputies asked me, if you just tell us where the body is, we can all go home and get this over with.
We're talking about 100 people combing through the wooded area. Nothing turns up.
All week long, I've been hearing they're going to set it up to make you guys look guilty.
We're a rough-looking bunch then. Some of us have been in trouble with the law before.
And y'all ain't never going to come out of that jailhouse.
We couldn't get out.
I tried to sneak out the back door the day of the polygraph test. I was scared to death.
On top of that, you have media.
I literally would be on 2 telephones at the same time.
We've even got some cooks in here now that's coming in and out to see the freak show, as they call it.
Everyone descends.
I just wasn't going to stand there and listen to it anymore.
Granny says, "This is Travis. I'm back. I need help." When I did hear that he had been returned, it was almost as unbelievable as the original thing.
I just looked at my mom and says, "I told you we didn't kill him."
Travis Walton reappeared after several days with a bizarre story about a ride in an unidentified flying object.
People were desperate to explain it away.
Why are you sticking up with Travis for all this time? You know this really didn't happen.
What happened to Travis after we took off in that truck, I can't tell you.
I hated Travis for a long time after this. My whole world just tore up.
But I believe every word Travis said about it. He's never lied to me about nothing.
It's a net negative. We lost our jobs in the immediate aftermath.
And now you're not able to talk about it with anyone because you know that they're going to laugh at you, they're going to look at you like you're crazy.
But if you don't come out and tell your story, somebody else is going to tell it for you.
There's a degree of responsibility. Certainly I have to accept the bad. If I can direct what's happened in a way that I can make something good happen in the world, I'm looking for it.
Order your copy of Travis, The True Story of Travis Walton, today at www.traviswaltonthemovie.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. By the way, as of yesterday, the X-Zone has dropped its Twitter, Facebook, and MySpace pages because of the tracking element. We ran several software scans just to find out that we had over 1,430 cookies. And cookies are just tracking elements for the people that you think are doing you such great favors by allowing you to use their social networks. Over the next hour, you're going to listen and understand why we did what we did, and hopefully, I'm going to get something into you that you're going to say, my God, is this true? And I'm going to tell you right now, what you're going to hear over the next hour is 100% true. Joining me now is Andre Van Heerden. He is the writer, director, producer, and CEO of Cloud 10 Pictures. Their website is www.cloud10pictures.com. And Andre, always great talking to you. Thank you very much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join us here today on the X-Zone.
Love to be here, Rob. Great to hear your voice.
Great hearing you too, my friend. As you were kind enough to drop by a copy of Shadow Government to us last week. Since then, I have watched it 6 times. Each and every time I watch it, Andre, something new is discovered. During the video, one of your guests explains why social sites and why people like Google give you stuff. It's to bring you into the fold in order that they can dissect and market you. But that's just one of the many, many interesting topics in shadow government. But before we get into that, Andre, tell us a little bit about yourself and where your involvement and why Cloud 10 Pictures decided to do a production on shadow government, how the global elite plan to destroy democracy and your freedom.
Cloud 10 is probably best well known for the Left Behind series of movies. Many people may not recognize Cloud 10 Pictures, but Left Behind, the very well-known book series, very well-known movies starring Kirk Cameron and Lou Gossett Jr., and a number of other names, is pretty well known, especially across the U.S. And before we began making feature films, going back around 14 years ago, we did a TV series as well as a number of documentaries. And one of those documentaries was a documentary called Final Warning. And it was based on a book by Grant Jeffrey. And when we were producing it, people were all kind of, well, you know, we really don't believe this stuff. And it was looking at how you're going to be tracked, the new technologies that are coming down the road, the way society was going to change because of these new technologies. And no one really believed us. And fast forward 14 years, suddenly we're looking at a new documentary called Shadow Government, on another book by Grant Jeffrey, and suddenly people are saying, wow, you guys were 100% correct in everything that was in Final Warning. And now people are definitely listening on this one. And it's mainly because it's all taken from today's headlines. It's like everything that the experts are talking about. People were saying, yeah, that happened to me in my everyday life. Yes, I saw this happen. Yes, I can see this on the news today. And you start to realize that the news that you're getting is just one story, but behind every other story, there is the real news, behind the curtain. One of the things you said off the top was, ask the real questions. Why are supermarkets so eager to give you a loyalty card? Do they really want to give you better prices on a bag of chips? And what about all these social networking sites? Really, you get you get your Google Mail for free. Why would they do that? Well, you have to start asking those questions, and it becomes very logical. They're a business. They want to track where you're going. They want to be able to market you. They want to sell your information to other people, including, by the way, the American government and other governments. Governments aren't allowed to track and monitor their citizens by law, but what they can do is buy that information, the exact information they want, from marketers and other companies that can do that. So it was really an eye-opening experience doing this documentary, and it's fantastic that you've been able to watch it so many times. Originally, it was supposed to be 60 minutes, and we just had way too much material. Did 90 minutes, and then I don't know if you saw on the DVD, there was an extra half-hour program as well.
Yes.
Extra material.
You know, one of the most startling parts of the movie that I found was how the insurance companies are using the information from RFID chips as well as from these loyalty cards to actually see whether or not you're an insurance risk or not based on what you eat, the frequency of products that you buy, to see if you're a health risk or not. Now, that's going, in my books, a little too far. And I remember having Dr. Albrecht on the show many years ago, and she was talking about the RFID chip. In fact, she actually broke the story on RFID chips and is today one of the, if not the, one of the top leading experts on spyware and spy chips. And callers called in and were basically laughing at her. But you know what? What she said years ago is happening today, and it is scary, Andre. It's Big Brother is not only in our bedrooms, but he's in our fridges, he's in our motel rooms, our hotel rooms, he's in our cell phone. We can't get away from Big Brother.
Our washrooms as well. You look at all the different ways that people are being tracked, and I think, here's a little example, and it shows a good intention or a good reason for technology, but you can see the way it can be abused. So they have installed in a number of washrooms and through different companies these readers on this hand soap. Now, because the people are walking around with these security cards to let them into different places, they know which employee has now gone into the washroom, which is definitely probably the most private place you want to be.
Yeah.
First goes to the washroom. They go to wash their hands. The hand reader lets the employer know whether they've washed their hands or not. Now you say, "Wow, that's a great thing." If you're at a restaurant, you certainly want to know whether your employees are washing their hands. Yes, okay, but let's take it a step further. If every single business is doing this because they want to, to scare, to stop all the so-called pandemics and swine flus and all the rest of it, they're now monitoring you, how often you go to the washroom, how long you're there, what you're doing in there. They now have something called smart medicine cabinets for homes, so that if you have certain prescriptions, if you're supposed to take your prescription tablet, say, once every 3 hours, and you take it once every 3.5 hours, that pharmaceutical company's losing money. They don't want to lose money. They want to make sure that you are following it along exactly. Now, if some of you have a health problem and you say, look, this isn't working or whatever, they can come back and say, no, we're not covering any insurance. No one's going to do anything because you didn't follow exactly what your pills said, and they can prove it. It is a scary Big Brother society, and, it's already here. That's the crazy thing, is that it's not something you can say, it's coming down the line. This materials, these tracking devices, this is all here. And what you mentioned with the supermarket, I was, before doing this documentary, one of those people that kind of said, okay, show me how it's bad that someone watches and tracks me if they can catch the bad guys. I'm not doing anything wrong, so if they can watch and track me and get the pedophiles, the terrorists, the guys stealing people's identities, that's a good thing. But when I heard about, through Catherine Albrecht, about how the supermarkets monitor and track and devise this list of all the things you buy, how much you spend, when you spend it. They can tell basically what your paycheck is, how many people are living with you, what your patterns are, just from the food that you're eating and when you're buying it. But they can then take that information and sell it to insurance companies. And so when I apply for life insurance or health insurance, and the insurance company then goes to the supermarket and says, what's Andre eating? Oh, he eats a lot of Haagen-Dazs ice cream and chips, potato chips. Well, that's not very healthy for him, therefore he's at risk of a heart attack, and therefore we're not going to give him the insurance, or we're going to give him a very high rate to be part of us. And that definitely is stepping over the line, and it's unfortunately the reality of the world that we're living in.
Tell me, Andre, if there are many people who may be listening now, well, I'm sure there are many people who are listening now, but their outlook on these cards, as well as RFID and government watching, I hope, is starting to be put into question. And I'm sure some people are saying, well, wait a minute, Andre, if I have nothing to hide, I've got nothing to fear. How do you answer that?
Well, there's two big parts to that. One is, well, if you have nothing to hide, why are you being watched? Is one part of it. The second part of it is, if you are being tracked, or when you are being tracked at this point, when you're being tracked and this data shadow is being created for you and every other person, logically people say, well, no one's going to be reading all that information. No one's sitting there watching me 24 hours a day. There's just not enough people in the world. There's just not, and who's going to do that? And you're correct. They're absolutely correct. We're not saying that. But what is happening is that, there's been a big change in how inexpensive data storage is. It used to be that, if you look back, I grew up with a Commodore 64, and that was the big thing, and the computer could, do all these wonderful things. Well, that amount of memory is now infinitesimal compared to even just a memory key. The storage space is so cheap now, you can store anything. And so with the advent of the storage space, people can monitor and track, and these computers just track and build all this information. And it's just searching for your name, for certain keywords, and putting all this information into this giant file. Now, no big problem right now. But, and say you trust the government right now, okay, what about the next government? Do you know who it is? What about the government after that? Do you know who that is? What if someone comes into power and decides, hey, you know what, we don't want them to have so many rights and freedoms. We want to take this away. And we don't like the fact that Andre's pro-life. We don't like the fact that he's visiting these sites that are pro-life. We don't like the fact that he's signed petitions that are pro-life, and therefore we're going to limit what he says and how he's able to work.
So your freedoms, the freedoms that we believe we have, can actually be working against us at this time. Andre, stand by. You and I have to take a commercial break. Exonation Andre Van Heerden is our very special guest. He's the CEO of Cloud 10 Pictures. www.cloud10pictures.com. That's where you can go to get your very own copy of Shadow Government, How the Global Elite Plan to Destroy Democracy and Your Freedom. My name is Rob McConnell, and this is the X Zone, and Andre and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
Did Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Coming soon to the X-Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randle, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who would like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X-Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. This is Kevin Randle. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com.
What happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold.
And welcome to the X-Zone. It's a brand new week here, and I'd like to welcome all our new affiliates to the X-Zone radio show and our vast growing X-Zone nation around the world. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern. The show is then repeated in its entirety from 2 until 6 a.m. on the Talkstar Radio Network and the X-Zone Broadcast Network. If you'd like to send an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com is my email address. On MSN Messenger, you can always chat with us here in the studios during the broadcast day using the MSN address xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com and our website www.xzoneradiotv.com. X-Zone Nation, we're starting this week off with a bang. I want you to pay very close attention to what my guest and I, Andre Van Heerden, are going to be talking about this hour. Andre is the writer, the producer, the director, and he's also the CEO of Cloud 10 Pictures, and they have just come out with a life-changing, mind-awakening DVD entitled Shadow Government: How the Global Elite Plan to Destroy Democracy and Your Freedom. Here's a hypothetical situation, or is it? Could this be reality? You be the judge. John Wilson wakes up, gets ready to go and start his day, and heads off to work. Now, John Wilson has no idea that he's being watched, tracked, and studied. Now, is he a threat to national security? Is he a terrorist or a criminal? Not really. He's just an ordinary guy like you, myself, Andre, or anyone listening around the world. Like everyone else, John's rights and freedoms have been systematically destroyed. All what for? All in the name of national security. Now, what if there were hidden forces with no ties to democracy or constitutional rights and power? What if new laws, media propaganda, and secret societies labeled John a danger to society? And what if all this set up the stage for a biblically prophesized global government run by the Antichrist? You're saying, oh, come on, Rob, you've got to be kidding. You know what? I'm not. Over the next hour, I'm going to wake you people up. I'm going to shake your very tree of day-to-day reality that you think you're under. John Van Heerden and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break, talking about shadow government, how the global elite plan to destroy democracy and your freedom. Take a listen one more time to this radio spot.
Is it a conspiracy if it's all true?
The power to control and monitor every human being on the planet.
I don't know how they knew all about us.
One major world crisis away from having a totalitarian type system.
Are you aware, yes or no?
Discover the New World Order. Shadow Government.
The main event is the wholesale destruction of the world economy.
The push for every nation on the globe to identify and number all of its citizens.
Evil exists.
We are living in the last days.
Shadow Government. Own it today. Visit cloud10pictures.com. That's cloud10pictures.com.
It's that simple, X-Zone Nation. What I want you to do, after you've finished listening to this hour of the X-Zone, the first hour of this new week, get a hold of every person that you know and go to www.cloud10pictures.com. That's cloud10pictures.com. The name of the production is Shadow Government: How the Global Elite Plan to Destroy Democracy and Your Freedom. Check it out. You will be amazed. You will be shocked. It's time to take action. And the question is, how did the Bible know 2,000 years ago that this was going to happen? I'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as we continue live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, here in the X-Zone.